Todd left terrified in Coronation Street as Theo walks in on secret meeting with Sarah. Time is quickly running out for Todd Grimshaw in Coronation Street, as his chance to break free from abusive husband Theo Silverton may be slipping away. A desperate private meeting with Sarah Platt could be his final opportunity to escape, until Theo unexpectedly returns. Todd's abuse storyline has become one of the most tense, upsetting, and difficult plots currently unfolding in Soapland. It is uncomfortable, nerve-shredding viewing, yet impossible to look away from. Especially now that Theo is edging ever closer to being fully exposed as the violent, controlling manipulator he really is. Now that George Shuttleworth has seen Theo's true nature for himself, he is more determined than ever to help save Todd from the nightmare he is trapped in. And with support from people like Sarah and Summer Spellman, George is doing everything he can to protect the man he sees almost as a son. To be fair, things are beginning to close in on Theo. Now that Sarah has convinced Gary Windus that Todd is being abused, Theo is slowly starting to lose everything around him, including his closest friend, his mentor, his place at the builder's yard, and possibly much more if Gary decides to act on his anger. With pressure mounting from all sides, Theo has decided the answer is to run, ready to leave Coronation Street behind before the truth catches up with him. But he has no intention of leaving Todd behind. In one of the darkest turns yet, Theo effectively marched a blindfolded Todd into marriage, forcing him into a wedding that left him legally tied to his abuser. Now that he has secured that control, Theo has accepted a job in Belfast and plans to drag Todd away with him, trapping him in a fresh start that would really be nothing more than a new chapter in the same cycle of abuse. The only people standing in his way are those who care most about Todd. Knowing Todd might one day need a route out, George secretly gave him an emergency bag packed with essentials in case he ever found the courage to leave. But disaster struck when Theo discovered it. After finding the bag, Theo pressured Todd into confronting George and the others in the bistro, forcing him to turn on the very people trying to help him. In painful scenes, Todd lashed out at his friends one by one, insulting them and accusing them of meddling in a relationship they did not understand. Sarah was among those caught in the firing line. When Theo sneered that none of them were Todd's real friends, Sarah fired back by insisting that they were his real friends and that, unlike Theo, they would never hurt him. That prompted Todd to cruelly turn on one of the oldest friends he has, snapping at Sarah and mocking her love life in a cutting remark. But Sarah could see straight through it. She immediately realized the words were not really Todd's own, and made it clear that she knew Theo was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. Despite everything Todd said to push her away, Sarah has no intention of abandoning him. However, her efforts to help may end up placing Todd in even greater danger in upcoming episodes, as she makes one final attempt to convince him to leave Theo before it is too late. In scenes set to air soon, Sarah waits outside the flat on the cobbles until she is sure Theo has gone, before begging Todd to let her inside. Terrified but desperate, Todd eventually gives in, covering the doorbell camera before quietly allowing Sarah into the flat. Once inside, Sarah starts pressing him for answers, wanting to know why he has stopped replying to George's messages and why he is shutting everyone out. But just as the conversation begins, panic sets in. Suddenly, Todd and Sarah hear Theo returning home. And with Theo heading straight back to the flat, the terrifying question becomes, how on earth are they going to talk their way out of this one? Coronation Street reveals Carl's latest sinister move as death storyline edges closer. Coronation Street delivered another calculating twist for Carl Webster tonight, as he once again manipulated Debbie into giving him money. Pretending he wanted to rebuild their relationship, Carl used the emotional moment to quietly pressure her into handing over a large amount of cash. With Carl already confirmed as one of the key names linked to this month's upcoming murder mystery, and no shortage of people wanting revenge on him, viewers are now left wondering whether his downfall is finally getting close. The episode began with Debbie sitting alone on the swings in the precinct, still trying to readjust after recently being released from prison. Back in the Rovers, Kevin Webster explained that Debbie had successfully won her appeal and said he was trying to give her the time and space she needed to settle back into normal life. Not long after, a panicked Ronnie Bailey rushed into the pub looking for answers, worried sick after Debbie had gone out shopping hours earlier and stopped answering her phone. Thankfully, Debbie had been found by Carl, who later brought her safely back to the flat. Once home, Debbie opened up to Carl and admitted that she had simply needed some time alone, as her dementia symptoms had been becoming more difficult to manage. Even so, she insisted she did not regret taking the blame for what happened. Carl then tried to explain himself, telling Debbie that after the crash, he genuinely believed she had died. He said she had not been moving at all, and claimed that was the reason he swapped seats with her afterwards. Although he admitted there was no excuse for what he had done, Carl insisted he was only trying to tell her the truth about what happened that night. Debbie then spoke honestly about the fear she has been carrying since getting out of prison, admitting she is terrified of the people closest to her seeing her condition worsen. Trying to sound sincere, Carl reassured her that she would never be a burden and reminded her that she is loved by everyone around her, including him. But it did not take long for Carl to turn that vulnerable conversation into another opportunity for himself. As soon as Debbie was emotionally exposed, he carefully steered the conversation toward his own problems and conveniently let slip that he was now 10,000 pounds in debt. Acting as though he hated bringing it up, Carl claimed he owed Fiona money again and warned that if he failed to pay it back, he would have no choice but to leave. Knowing full well that Debbie was desperate not to lose him, Carl played the situation perfectly. Although Debbie clearly recognized the pattern and seemed far from shocked by yet another money request, she still agreed to sort it out for him. Carl was left quietly pleased with himself, wearing a smug grin as he realized his latest plan had worked once again, just moments before Ronnie arrived back home. Now the question is no longer whether Carl is using Debbie. It is how much longer he can keep getting away with it before everything finally catches up with him. Coronation Street viewers have labeled a long-awaited storyline twist as underwhelming, after one young couple discovered they are actually related. The storyline first began to take shape back in October, when newcomer Maggie Driscoll was left visibly shaken after spotting something unusual inside Ken Barlow's house. At the time, the moment ended on a cliffhanger, leaving fans wondering exactly what Maggie had seen and why it had affected her so deeply.